The moment you've all been waiting for, the GCN cheap bike, which I've gradually been transforming into something which hopefully is going to resemble a super bike in terms of performance. But hey, I've got Chris Opie to do that tough work for me. But many of you will remember how this bike started its life. It began as a Trek road bike that I bought off of eBay for £260 that was simply advertised as a Lance Armstrong replica. Let's have a close look at what I've done to it. Let's start with the frame then, shall we? Well, it's an aluminium frame and it's size 57 centimetres. The original paintwork, loads of you will remember it. It was that United States Postal Service, just like what Lance rode back in the early 2000s, but that just had to go, didn't it? We wanted to change it. So I asked some of my fellow presenters, how should I paint it? And they told me. So I decided to do that. And well, I was waiting for that phone call from Oliver.
What is the last paint job that the viewers are going to, or anyone is going to expect you to put on a bike? And whatever that is, do that.
So that's how it ended up in this, well, rather resplendent looking Celeste style colourway. So I decided to do that thanks to the folks at Spray.Bike who sent me some cans of spray paint. And well, the results, I have to admit, I'm pretty pleased with it, to be honest. If I had more time, I definitely would have sanded it down more and more just to get it ultra smooth. But well, for the money, £7.99 per can, it's certainly not bad. Then came the decals, as well as a final coat of lacquer on there. And to be honest, I'm impressed. Let's talk about the cockpit then. Well, I opted for the Deader Zero seat post, stem and handlebars purely because I thought the black would really look great against the Celeste style colourway. And I'm sure you agree. I'm not wrong with that, am I? So seat post, that's a size 27.2mm, and the stem, that's 120mm in length. Bars, 42 centimetres wide, and as you can see, they're kind of a semi-compact style design, so they're pretty shallow there, so when Chris is up battling his PB, he won't be giving himself a sore back. Now, the eagle-eyed of you at this point will probably notice that in one of my previous videos I mentioned about the barrel adjuster here on the down tube, and the thread in it was, well, virtually non-existent. So whilst building it up, I thought to myself, I'm going to have that wound all the way in so I don't risk pulling it out whatsoever, and then fit an inline barrel adjuster here on the front derailleur cable. So that just went on nice and easy, and it's going to give me just that bit of fine tuning there for the front derailleur should I need it. Whilst we're at the front end, let's talk about the shifters. Shimano 105 5800, and they are so light in their action compared to the originals that are on there. You'll remember as well, they had the old external cables poking out of there, the flight deck buttons and all that. None of that anymore, it's all hidden away nicely. And then finally the bars, well, they're wrapped off in some Lifeline handlebar tape. I do like it. It's got a slight silicone feel to it, so it's nice and grippy there too. Right, let's move on to the wheels then. We've got a pair of Vision Team 30s, and I'm sure you'll agree, they look fantastic. And loads of people in the office when I wheeled this bike through actually asked me what they were and how much they cost, and simply couldn't believe it. That's how impressed they were. They come with sealed bearings. We've also got bladed spokes here too, and importantly, external nipples, because if you were to have to true them up, well, you don't have to take off your rim tape, your tyres, and all that jazz. So it's super impressive to get that for such a bargain price. Tyres, we've got a pair of Continental GP 4000s in a 25mm width. A certain upgrade over those old Michelin ones that were on there that came in a 23mm. They would definitely be a pair of bone shaker tyres if I had to ride that bike. And then actually one of the components on the wheel set is one of the only bits which I managed to salvage on this bike from the original one, and that is the inner tubes. They were all in great condition, so I was happy to be able to reuse those. Oh, and I got the Vision skewers included too. Right, let's talk about the group set then, because I managed to get this as a complete item, but there was a few changes from the full 105 group set, which I initially thought I was going to be getting. So whilst the brakes were a slight downgrade from the 105 5800, I did get a pair of Shimano R561 calipers. So similar really to the original bike that came with a full 105 group set, yet the brakes on there were Tiagra. So it's a pretty similar comparison to make. Now rear derailleur, as you can see, it's standard short cage rear mech. It does manage to accommodate though that 11 to 28 cassette there on the rear. Then the chain set, I've opted for 170mm length cranks and a 5339 chainring combination. The reason being, that's exactly the same as what came on the original bike, so I thought, well, let's replace like for like, or as close as possible. Now, something else that was different from the original 5800 group set was actually this front derailleur. So it's an Ultegra 6800 Brazon one. Now the shop, when I bought it from them, they just didn't have the 5800, so they upgraded that one for me, and I think that's good because it's a nice light action front derailleur. Admittedly, you don't use the front neck that often, but when you do, you want to make sure it's nice and easy and there's no strain there whatsoever. Then also the bottom bracket, that was exactly the same too. They managed to upgrade that from the 105 to the old Tegra version. And it is also that newer Holotech style. So you remember the original one that had the Octalink chainset on there, those bottom brackets weighed an awful lot compared to the actual overall weight of the chainset and bottom bracket on this bike, because you're using a hollow spindle and it's a much more slimline affair. Particularly the fact that the actual external cups there are almost the same diameter as the bottom bracket shell, something which I'm a big fan of compared to the original Holotech bottom brackets that were released. Now the chain itself, that's not Shimano 105 either, instead it's a KMC 11EL model. So that stands for extra light because it's got considerable weight savings, so it only weighs about 245 grams, and they've come to save some weight thanks to the slotted out sides here on the links of each individual piece. Right, but what actually remains then from the original bike? Well, other than the frame and the forks, we've got the seat clamp here, which was a BBB one, so I'm led to believe it was an aftermarket one when I bought the bike from Johnny, and also the headset here. Luckily, those bearings were in perfect condition. Now, the bike, it has been set up for Mr. OP, but I'm sure he will fiddle around with this. But don't worry, I'm going to change these silver headset spacers to some black ones, which I've got kicking about at home. Because it uses an old 1-inch diameter steerer here, I didn't have any in the workshop at the GCN offices to actually, fit on the bike. So I'm going to have to go back to my own personal stash, aren't I? Then I've got the GCN headset top cap cover there just to finish it off and look nice. And fitted onto the seat post, we've got a Physique Arione, and it's got the carbon braided rails. So we're saving a little bit of weight there, but not sacrificing comfort whatsoever. It's my favourite saddle, that. And the weight of the bike, it's coming in at 9.02 kilos. The original bike, that weighed in at 9.85. Pretty good weight saving. Oh, you didn't think I was going to let you go without hearing the free hub, did you? Let's have a listen. Oh, nice. That's quite old school. There we are, the GCN cheap bike. Let me know what you think of it down there in the comments section below. I've thoroughly enjoyed building this bike up so much I want to do another series. So let me know what you'd like to see me build or restore down there in the comments section below. Don't forget to like and share this video with your friends. Give it a big old thumbs up. And also, why not check out how it got on since it's been pimped up just down here. And for the complete series of this bike and the transformation, click just down here.